You're listening to Heritage Radio Network.
Whether you're a chef or just love going to restaurants, you know the best ingredients are everything. Westholme is working with the land to create nature-led Australian Wagyu. Learn more at westholme.com.
What's going on, everybody? This is Amuse News, your destination for food news and conversation. Please subscribe to the podcast and like and share it with your friends. I'm your host, RJB. I'm the executive director of HRN, and I appreciate you joining me on this adventure through the food world. So today I'm going to bring you a few snippets of interviews that I did at the 1% for the Planet Summit in San Diego last week. It was a really fun conference and one of the only places that I've been where everyone was completely like-minded, completely open to conversation, and completely on the same page about using the power of business to really make more change in the world. So it was really great to be there, and I'm going to bring you some interviews that I did on site there in just a few minutes. I want to tell you about a few other things that I was hoping to get in front of you all. So the first thing is that we are doing an audience survey. We really need HRN listener input. So please go to heritageradionetwork.org/survey or click on the link in the show notes to take the survey. We want to hear from you. It's going to affect how we program, the kinds of stuff we create, content, all that stuff. So please give us your input if you're a listener and you want to contribute. Also, you can win a $250 gift card to Goldbelly. So you can order lobster rolls or New Orleans food. You can do whatever you want with Goldbelly. So check that out, and thank you. We have a new podcast, Progressive Hedonist, from our friend Dana Cowan. The first episode is live. She interviews Dr. Ayanna Elizabeth Johnson, and they kind of get into detail just about local and regional food systems, climate-conscious leadership, and the abundant possibilities that can be created by a shift from individual action to collective efforts. So this is the first episode in Dana's show, which is designed to really use the power of food to help address climate change. So it's a fun podcast. It's deep. It gets into kind of intellectual depth on what we can all do to be better consumers while still, eating the food we love and being food passionate. So it's a really fun episode and a really fun series. So check that out. Link is in the show notes. There's a new episode of Snacky Tunes, just came out yesterday. Darren is sitting down with Stephen Clark, who is from Golden Crust, the iconic Jamaican fast casual restaurant, which is celebrating its 35th anniversary. And then there is some music in there from Lily McQueen. It's a throwback to May 2015. As usual, Darren's bringing you some food conversation and some music, which of course I love. So check that out. Link is in the show notes. And then finally, an episode of Beer Sessions Radio that I did with Jimmy Carbone. We went to the Cayuga Lake Scenic Byway, Ithaca and the surrounding areas. We spent a few days up there. We went to Finger Lake Cider House. We talked to a couple wineries, Hosmer Winery and Bet the Farm. We went to a couple breweries. We went to the farmer's market. We basically experienced this incredible Cayuga Lake Scenic Byway. We went to Ganic Falls. We saw a huge falls there. I walked through the gorgeous trail in downtown Ithaca. It was actually a really, really wonderful trip. And I hope you all will listen to that. I'll put the link in the show notes. But we had a deep conversation about cider. It was my first real experience with good cider and good dry cider. I feel like cider in my mind was always, whatever we had at the bar back in the day on tap. It's not like that anymore. This is really finely made, really, really delicious cider. So I got to give one shout out to the Finger Lake Cider House. Amazing food, amazing location, great cider. It's a really cool place. It made me want to take my family up there because I think the whole area is great, but it's really cool to visit a place like that where you can see animals, you can pick apples, you can have cider, you can have really, really fresh farm to table food. It's a really amazing place. So link to all that is in the show notes. So I'm going to take a very quick break, and then I'm going to come back and share a little bit more about the 1% for the Planet Global Summit.
In Northern Australia, there's a different approach to raising high-quality beef. Westholme looks after a sweeping stretch of territory from Brisbane to Darwin, with a climate as varied as the landscape. Wet seasons in the summer, dry seasons in between, every few hundred miles a different terrain, from lush wetlands and grassy plains to watering holes and ancient rocky land features. Westholme raises Wagyu beef, but there's a saying around Westholme that the real job is to grow grass, meaning that if they take care of the land, the rest will take care of itself. Cattle are happier when they have the freedom to forage and explore, so Westholme ensures they can roam wild, foraging at will for the first 2 to 3 years of their lives. Their cows graze on native grasses like Mitchell grass, which is found only in Australia, along with dozens of other plants, herbs, and seasonal legumes. Westholme's team of rangeland experts and nature managers use a variety of tools to monitor and respond to the welfare of the environment, like satellites that assess grass health and on-the-ground research. The result is signature Australian Wagyu, built on a genetic lineage tracing back to Japan, imbued with the terroir of this changing landscape, and a flavor that complements every cuisine. Westholme believes that when nature leads, flavor follows. Learn more and experience the difference for yourself at westholme.com.
All right, welcome back. So the 1% for the Planet, if you don't know what 1% for the Planet is, so 1% for the Planet is a global network with thousands of businesses and environmental organizations and nonprofit working together to support people on the planet. A lot of the biggest companies in the world and a lot of smaller companies have basically committed to donating 1% of their sales, not profits, sales, to environmental causes and nonprofit causes that they want to make a difference on. So they've already certified $672 million in certified giving through these companies. There's almost 5,000 business members. There's more than 7,000 environmental partners. We're part of the network. So I went out to this global summit, which is a kind of a annual meeting of both the companies and the causes that they support. And like I said earlier, it was a really great experience. I can't say enough about how inspiring it was and how much impact kind of I felt by being part of this, by being around people who are all really committed to making the world a better place, but also supporting business. So that's really cool. So right now we're going to jump to a conversation with Kate Williams, who's the CEO of 1% for the Planet.
I am Kate Williams, CEO of 1% for the Planet. So 1% for the Planet creates a way where you can both be part of a community, the 1% for the Planet brand and community, and differentiate by choosing where you do your giving so that it can be aligned with your brand. So in that way, we're able to have companies in the same space participate because they are unified under a shared message, which makes it really clear to consumers. But then they're also differentiated because they're choosing giving that's aligned with their particular brand, and that's also really clear to consumers.
Do you think that when you think about like chefs, restaurants, people in the restaurant, food and beverage industry, like how can they play a part, and what do you think that does for their businesses?
I think for the food industry, sort of any level within the food industry, one of the first things people sort of think about when they're kind of starting to incorporate purpose in their life is like what they're putting in their bodies. So I think food, where it comes from, how it's prepared, like choices that people can make about what's healthy, like impact of different, products or growth, ways of growing that have an impact more or less, like all of that kind of stuff, because it's like such a direct interaction with people's bodies and also with their social and cultural experiences. I think people are, have a lot of like interest and attention to it. So I do think chefs, CEOs, whatever, who in that space have an opportunity and probably an obligation to really dial that in, because there would be, a consumer interest. Yeah.
The last thing I want to ask you about is this community. I've been to a lot of conferences, as we all have. This is like maybe the first conference I've ever been to where like people will come up to you and just say hi and introduce themselves, and there's no awkwardness about like, does this person want to talk to me, or does this person think I'm selling them something? Like, it feels really like everyone here is very open to connecting and like in a business sense. Like, let's talk about how we can help each other. And it feels like that's the community you've all tried to create. But how have you done that? Because I feel like that's a really hard thing to do.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I kind of marvel at it too, so I don't have like a direct answer, but I would say in some ways similar to what I was saying earlier, there's such a common, like once people make this commitment, it's a big commitment, and we share that. Everyone involved shares that. And everyone involved is doing it in different ways, and so there's like a curiosity there. And then I think, fundamentally too, like the growth of our impact is based on the growth of revenues. Yeah. And so to do business together is the most beautiful thing, because then, we're sort of partnering within the movement to grow the revenues that drive impact. So if you're going to choose a vendor, and, I shared this morning, we have members across almost every industry you could think of. And so starting with 1% members when you're making a vendor choice, like, why not? Yeah. And so I think being here together, there's such that shared interest in how we can kind of amplify our impact by doing stuff together, figuring stuff out together.
So I went there to the 1% for the Planet Global Summit to, of course, talk to as many people as I could to learn and be inspired and talk about HRN. But I also was talking to as many food and beverage companies as I could. And one of the people I met was Nito Anello, who's going to tell you a little bit about his company. And he actually won an award later that day after we talked, an impact award for the work that he's doing with his company. So I'll let you hear it from him.
I'm Nito Anello from Buenos Aires, Argentina, and I co-founded a company called Safran. Well, we are a purpose-driven company that makes nutritious food. We do cereal bars and granola cookies. And we do that like trying to include people that usually doesn't have opportunities to get a job, like people with disabilities, single moms, people that have been in jail, or very young people, or very old people, or people from other countries. We have like a variety of problems or high barriers, we say, to job, to working. We try to get our supplies from local regenerative organic producers, but that's not so easy in Argentina. So sometimes we find small producers that do agroecological work, we say. They use the similar practice to organic, but they don't certify.
Okay. So why, if you're starting a business, why focus on the social aspect as opposed to just trying to, make a product to sell?
Yeah, I think it's all at the same time, no? We make a product to sell. We do bars that are really nice, really tasty. Yeah. And at the same time, all my life I wanted to do something that was meaningful, and just to make a product to sell and get more money, that's not enough for me. I learn much more from talking to people that it's deaf than from making more money in the bank. So it's quite an egoist, do you say? Like what's a selfish decision, like to grow my spirit, my spiritual life, to work with people very different from me, to have really diverse people in the team, and I enjoy it a lot. So,
what about customers? Like, how do you think customers react to the social mission? Do you find that like people are going to be more likely to want the product? Do people ask questions about it? Do people not care? Like, how have you heard customers react to the social mission?
In our experience, like selling food, the first thing is it has to be good. It has to be tasty. It has to be affordable. It has to be competitive with the other brands that are on the shelf. Yeah. And on top of that, when people know what you're doing behind what we are here in the 1% for the Planet Summit, we donate 1% of our revenue. And when they know you're doing all that stuff, besides having a good product, it's like they become completely fanatics. But it's not so easy, at least for us, that we are a small company, to get that message spread and for every customer to know that.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's part of the reason you're here, right? I mean, what do you think of this gathering?
Yeah, I'm here because we were nominated to one of the prizes, like for the job we do with Germinar, that is the nonprofit that we support. And it's really fun to be here, to be meeting people that it's in the same boat, like trying to do something different for the planet. So I'm really, really happy to be here for the opportunity. I feel very privileged.
Where can people find out more about the company?
Well, we have our Instagram that is Safran OK, and then in our website it's www.safran.com.ar.
Thank you for talking with me.
Thank you for your job. Yeah, I want to listen more of your podcast.
And then lastly, as I mentioned, we're networking with a bunch of food and beverage related companies, but also nonprofits. And one of the nonprofits that I talked to are actually people that I should have been talking to all along, but I just met from the Cornucopia Institute. And we hope that you check out Cornucopia Institute. You can find out more about it in this conversation with Michelle Marchetti, a fellow Pennsylvania resident and a new friend. So I'll let her tell you a little bit about the organization.
I'm Michelle Marchetti, and I'm the Deputy Director of the Cornucopia Institute. So Cornucopia is a independent nonprofit watchdog that exists to protect the future of organic agriculture. And what we do is provide concrete tools that you can use at the grocery store to support the kind of food that you want to see in the world.
What's an example of a good example of how people who care about food but might not pay that close of attention can kind of like get the information and how that affects how they shop or how they buy?
One of the easiest entry points to our work is our organic scorecards, where we rate the available brands of organic eggs, organic dairy, organic plant-based beverages, and other brands, so that you can find food that meets your expectations of the organic label. And so we look at, it depends on what category we're scoring, but like for eggs, for example, we would look at housing systems and animal welfare and things like that, so that you can support the best organic farms and find the food that aligns with your values.
And are you doing all the work yourself, or are you like sourcing the data from different places, or how do you get the information that you use to score?
That's a good question. So we have 2 decades of doing this under our belt, 2 decades of being trusted messengers, of being trusted watchdogs. And so we have cultivated a very massive Rolodex of industry insiders and whistleblowers and environmentalists and reporters and retailers who are our eyes and ears in the field. And so a lot of this is like being an investigative reporter for the food system, and we would use all the tools that an investigative reporter would use at their disposal to pull back the curtain on what's happening in the food system, because we don't really know what's happening.
Yeah. That's unfortunate. So what does this 1% for the Planet Summit mean for you? What do you take away from it now that we're like toward the end? What do you think of it?
I think what I walked away with is this idea of cultivating, I'm not going to use the word hope, but I will use the word possibility. We get so stuck in our little whatever area that we're working in, and in our computers on our little Zoom boxes, and to get outside of the office and to meet people who are working outside of the system that I'm working in, but we all have this common goal of saving the earth and protecting the environment. I feel like I have the energy that I need, at least for the next few months, to go back and do this really hard work.
And how can people find out more and get involved?
So cornucopia.org, that's cornucopia.org. You can also find us on Instagram. You can find us on YouTube, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. Reach out to us on our website. We would love to hear from you.
All right, so that's kind of a quick summary of the summit that I went to. Check out 1%fortheplanet.org. I'm sure we'll be hearing more from them as the year goes on and next year. But wanted to bring you that so that you all could hear a little bit more about some of these organizations that are doing work to improve the planet through good business practices, while still realizing that we live in a capitalist society, which I think is great. So I hope everyone enjoyed that, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll be back soon, and thank you for taking the time to listen to us, and see you next time.